Recently, I've been working on a Star Wars fan film called Trial on the Island Moon, where we see a solitary hero braving the hostile wilderness in a far-flung system. If that sounds interesting to you, we're funding that film right now on Kickstarter. Now, the fan film features a number of starship wrecks slowly rusting and sinking into the sand of the island, and while doing visual research for the look of these disintegrating hulks, I remembered that we actually got a look at this sort of visual in the original Star Wars film. While perhaps the most famous example of this is the ship added in the special edition, I actually want to focus on a more modest wreck that's right across the street from the Mos Eisley Cantina. It definitely blends into the scenery as just a pile of junk, but if you look closely, this is a crashed vessel with skeletal wings, engines, and a cylindrical main body, with some of its hull plating still clinging on. This Mos Eisley exterior was shot on location in Ajim, Tunisia, where the streets around a neighborhood bakery were extensively redressed to look like an otherworldly city. The location is a mere half-mile from the ocean, which should bring to mind that the real-life Tunisia locations aren't quite the same climate as the planet they're depicting. Ajim, Tunisia is a fishing town, and while it's pretty arid, it's also a lot greener than Tatooine ought to be, which is why if you look closely, large set dressings like this wrecked starship are actually hiding background trees. And while looking closely, we could start to imagine what this ship must have looked like in its prime, but it turns out we don't really have to imagine at all, as there are surviving concept sketches of these Tatooine set dressings from artist John Barry. Among these sketches is a drawing titled The Complete Ship, and it's clearly depicting an intact version of the ruined vessel we see in the film. I really wanted to visualize what this ship would have looked like in live action if it appeared intact in the original trilogy. So looking closely at the detailing and proportions of the on-screen wreck, and using the concept art to fill in the gaps along with some artistic license, this is what I came up with. And you know me, I absolutely cannot help myself when it comes to thinking up lore for these ships, so I've been calling this ship the JB-75 Star Clipper, produced by Gallifrey Yards long before even the Clone Wars. I imagine these Star Clippers were fairly adaptable, making them suitable for multiple roles. At 20 meters long, the ship was readily manageable by a crew of 2 and affordable even for independent entrepreneurs. It was well suited for passengers and spacious enough to carry light freight. Local planetary defense forces were also known to use these Star Clippers, but the stock version of the ship was a bit infamous for its flimsy hull paneling, which made it largely unsuitable for combat without extensive defensive modifications. This particular JB-75 was known as the Setback Dream, piloted by a down-on-their-luck duo who came to the Tatoo system to stake an allegedly valuable mining claim on the third moon of Tatooine. A sudden meteor strike destroyed their stabilization systems, sending the ship spinning out of control and into the surface of Tatooine. Nobody knows what became of these unfortunate spacers, but seemingly everyone who saw the wreck came to the conclusion that this starship must not be disturbed and must remain as a memorial for future generations. While this reverence might sound odd, many actually saw a bit of themselves in the implicit story behind the wreck. That is, nobody comes to Tatooine because his life is going well. And the implied tragedy behind every shipwreck is in some way the story of nearly all who find themselves on Tatooine, making crash sites like this almost sacred to the settlers on that distant world. I hope you guys like that little dive into a really interesting on-screen detail and my personal lore for it. This video might have been a bit shorter than some of my other mystery ship videos, but that's because I am hard at work getting funding for the Star Wars fan film I've been working on, Trial on the Island Moon, which actually channels a lot of the same energy as the story I came up with for this video. In my fan film, one young man must survive on a wild and perilous moon, where the only landmasses are tiny islands and windswept sandbars littered with rusting starship hulls that stand as testaments to the naive spacers who landed there for mysterious reasons and never survived the wilderness of the island moon. It's a story of survival and discovery, and it's a story that really explores some of the core themes of Star Wars, but without relying on any existing lore. This is a unique project that I'm really excited about, but it's only possible with your support. We've already reached 1/3 of our goal on Kickstarter, but Kickstarter is an all or nothing platform. That means if we don't reach our goal, we don't get anything. So if this sounds like something that you'd like to see, head on over to Kickstarter and pledge your support today. You guys are the lifeblood of this channel, and I can't thank you enough for your continued support.